Folks, good day to you one and all, and back with one of our favorite series, touring cars. It's going to probably become one of the premier races to watch on the iRacing calendar in South Africa in 2022. Frankie Innes was with me, Mike Side, for round one and round number two of the series. And joining me tonight, the other voice of Western Province Motorsport, the man from Yo Stasi, and that is FC Nieuwoud. FC, good day to you.
Lovely to be back in the second gear studio for another iRacing session. This time the iRSA Touring Car Challenge. Lovely to be here with you, Gary.
Yeah, you've missed out on the first two rounds of this, and it's been fantastic racing. Leading out the top end of the grid is Jennifer Miliaris and Umpi Swart, both on 49 points as we come to the end of the practice session. You can see they all get removed, they'll all be coming back as they go into their 10-minute qualifier. Byron Mitchell on 43, Michael Stephen on 42. Then rounding out the top five just a little bit further back than Tin Bezuidenhout, the man that was out at Cologne International on Saturday on 32 points alongside Carl McCarthy.
Yeah, Carl McCarthy level on points there with Clinton Bezuidenhout on 32 points. Jason Kutsia, the next man out there in 29 points. Jaco Steyn, one of the big guys that's instrumental in the background in all the leagues out there at the moment. He's in 8th position on 28 points. John T. Weiss in there with 25, along with Nathan Victor. And rounding off that top 10, Johan Grobler on 22 points.
Interesting one this is going to be. Let's get the leaderboards up there. So we're 47 seconds into qualifying, and you'll see the guys out on circuit. As we said, some of those top riders. There's Umpi Swart, there is Michael Stephen. Nice to see the comeback in there in the Denza car. Robbie Teens moving up into the A division, and they've been promoted from division number 2. Kwanda Makuna, also a man that was down at Killarney on Saturday. Herman Lazarus, Willem Botha, Ryan Ottens, and the man from Carbs and Coffee, Andrew Thomas. Welcome to the five of them to this series, division number 1, round number 3 for 2022.
Yeah, of course, the interesting thing is the cars that are available to use today, the Audi RS3, the Honda Civic Type R, and the Hyundai Elantra N series. Or was it Nitro series or just the N series with Hyundai?
The N series was actually brought out back in the days when I still worked for Hyundai down in Milnerton here in the Western Cape area, and the N series was literally with the bigger rims and the skirts and the color coding and what have you on it. And well, iRacing picked up that because obviously Hyundai worldwide started the N series before it actually came to South Africa. And between the Audi, the Honda, and the Hyundai, the car of choice, I'm proud to say, the people I used to work for, the Hyundai.
Well, I'll proudly back the boykies that I used to work for from the German side of the family, the Audis. So let's see what they can do out there. A nice mix between the Hyundais and the Audis out there. I think there's about a lone Honda or two out there. I know Brent Thompson was out in a Honda during the practice sessions. So we'll have to see if anybody else has been brave enough to take on the Japanese name. Or is it just, no, it looks like it's just Brent Thompson that's taken up the Japanese title. So, Germany versus Korea versus Japan today out here in the iRSA TCR Challenge Series. And it'll be interesting to see what the guys can do out here in qualifying. Riding on board there with Jaco Steyn, the man with that beautiful, is it neon yellow and blue livery? The Upton Steel livery on that Hyundai Elantra. We'll have a look and see what they can do.
So Jaco Steyn, a big thanks to him, the man that does all the work in the background to make it all possible. Byron Mitchell is going to be one of the guys to keep an eye on as well, no doubt about it. The young Nathan Victor, man that started last season doing Class C with a GTI Challenge at Killarney International Raceway. As we got Janeman Prius that's in there as well. There's his livery. Oh, very nice looking livery, that I must say. That's one of the Audis. Another one of the Audis out there, man that's just moved up to Division A, and that is this man, Herman Lazarus.
Yeah, the traditional baby blue out on the Herman Lazarus car, cheapercars.co.za. the man that's instrumental there with them. But let's look at this. First qualifying times up on the board now. Byron Mitchell goes fast as he gets pipped down by Yuri Umpi Swart, who's out there in the Umpini car. He goes with a 1:38.2, a full second faster than anybody else that's out there on track with him. Byron Mitchell only 1:39.2, so a full second between pole and second pole at this stage of the fight.
Yep. And there comes Michael Stephen, comes on board to play as well. Michael Stephen comes up onto the front row of the grid after doing his first hot lap. Then we got that, you saw Byron Mitchell, Jason Kitsia, the Ironman, 39.2, Jaco Steyn, and big thanks to Jaco. He's done so much in the background for iRacing in South Africa, alongside Dr. Mike Verrier, utterly brilliant stuff. Willem Botha, the man from Toyota, he's in there on a 39.5. Sandro Bakari on a 1:39.8. Chase Herald, the man was doing some serious work at Kalani on Saturday with the racemates Neon de Toy NDT Racing, and they were in fact instrumental with Jason Kitsia out there on circuit. The comeback kid Robbie Teens, nice to have him out there. Janeman Prius, a man we got to know in the 6-hour races. Herman Lazarus, and he's up from Division 2 now up into Division 1. And then somebody I must admit I don't know much about, Ines Botma, that comes in on a 1:41.
Yeah, Ines Botma out there in a 1:41, and Nathan Victor just set a time in his Hyundai Elantra out in 7th position on a 1:39.689. A lot of the guys that still need to come out and qualify. Willem Botha has slightly improved on his time. Jason Kutsia has improved. Byron Mitchell goes one up and he goes to a 1:38.6, but there's still 4/10, almost 5/10 of a second off of Umpi Swart's pace out there in that pole position in his Elantra, riding on board there with the likes of Clinton Besaidenout now in what almost looks like it's Penzard now, Davidson and Sons, that Audi out there of Clinton Besaidenout.
Very instrumental, because that's the colours that they were running in the racing, the National Series on Saturday at Kalani International, Davidson and Sons. So nice to see that they've managed to carry that livery through as well. 15 times up there already. I still see a whole long list here of people that have not put times up yet. Savannah Swartz is out there. Also Brent Thompson. That's another man we haven't had a look at yet. Oh, that's a lovely
Doritos.
The
Doritos Honda.
Very, very nice, I must say. A lot of additional names I see down the bottom here that haven't put up lap times yet. The likes of Keegan Campos, Julian Familiaris, Ryan Ottens, Nati and Samangi, Ati Nagel, and James Grobler. That's all names that was originally loaded, and I don't see any of them putting any times at this stage of the fight. So still time to come up from Brent Thompson, Clinton Mazaidnote, and then Werner Swart. Now, Werner Swart's another man that we haven't got much previous knowledge on. It'll be nice to see how he slots into this one. So for those of you that have just joined us, there's our race information. Touring Car Challenge, round number 3 for 22, Alton Park Circuit.
Yeah, coming to you from the Alton Park Circuit in Little Budworth in England. The track length, 4.27 kilometers out there. And, of course, commentary brought to you today by myself, FC Nevote, and Gary Fleming, and the team here from Second Gear Productions for round number 3 of the iRacing South Africa Touring Car Challenge. And let's have a look who we're on board there with. Byron Mitchell, busy trying to improve on his time to try and catch up there to Swart and Stephen. At this stage of the fight, Umpi Swart leading them on a 1:38.2. Michael Stephen on a 1:38.65. Byron Mitchell on a 1:38.66. Jaco Steyn out
and
there.
He's got a lap in hand, whereas the other two, FC have already gone into pits. Umpi and Michael Stephen are in fact not riding at the moment. So odds are they have finished their 2 flyers. Can Byron put it up on the front row of the grid? Nope, he realizes that he can't do it, and he slows it all down, and that's his 2 laps done.
Yeah, done and dusted there for Byron. Riding on board there with Willem Botha. He's in a 1:39.333 in 7th position at this stage of the fight, just ahead there of John T. Weiss, Nathan Victor, Sandro Bakari, Brent Thompson, Jared Paul, Robbie Teens, Janeman Prius, Werner Swart, Ines Botma, and Herman Lazarus, with a little more than a minute and a half left in this qualifying session. Riding on board there with Brent Thomas in the Doritos Honda. Now we're back on board there with Clinton Besaidenout in the Davidson and Sons Audi. Oh, as he makes a big mistake. That's not something you want to do in qualifying.
No, and unfortunately he started out pretty late. He hasn't put in a flyer yet, and he's gone automatically back into the pit lane. Now, 8 minutes 47. I don't believe that Clinton Bezuidenhout is going to be able to put a full lap in. It's still Brent Thomas that's out there on circuit, but he's just idling around. So for those of you who are not regulars watching this form of motorsport, you get a practice session of 20 minutes. Everybody goes out, they can see one another. Then when each driver goes out, sitting in his rig, in his man cave, at home, wherever he is, he goes out on circuit, and he then only sees himself out there on the track, nobody else, while he does his qualifying. And as soon as you've got a clean lap, it will then come up and show on the side of the screen. That is the 17 that we have there. 9 minutes 30, that is now gone. That is the last car driver combination that is out on circuit. And that is Willem Botha in the Coca-Cola car.
Yeah, in the Coca-Cola Hyundai. And if you look at the bottom left of the screen, it shows you how he's doing in each sector there. And at this stage of the fight, not improving in any of the sectors and deciding to abandon that, as the time is about 5 seconds away from running out there. And that will be the end of qualifying. And we'll see who slots in where when this race starts within the next minute or so.
Yep, the computer will now do all the necessaries and work out who's going to be standing where. So let's see, front row of the grid, they went out early, they put their laps in early. Oompie Swart and Michael Stephen.
Yeah, that's your front row. Second row on the grid, Byron Mitchell in P3 with Jaco Steyn in P4. On the third row, Jason Coetzee, P5. Chase Herald filling that 6th position. Willem Botha, Jonty Weiss brings up row number 4 with Nathan Victor and Sandro Bakari filling the 5th row. Behind them, Brent Thompson in the Honda, followed by Jared Paul, and then Robbie Teings and Janeman Prius on row number 7.
Yep, behind that is Werner Swartz and Ines Botma. And then behind that is Herman Lazarus and Julian from iRSA. Wow, he hasn't put in a lap time. Ottens, Bezuidenhout, Grobler, Atinagel, Keegan Campos, all of them are out there on the grid. Nati and Samangi as well. And none of those guys have put in any qualifying times at all. So if they're out there, they're going to be starting off the back end of the grid, and that's going to be something else.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch. And it looks like a couple of guys that got promoted didn't make it to the race today. Kwanda Mokwena, not on the grid. Didn't see him in any of the qualifying sessions or the practice session. And that takes him out of this one. So let's have a look as everybody gets into their grid slots with Oompie Swart, Michael Stephen, Byron Mitchell, and Jaco Steyn, the 4 guys at the front. They're all Hyundais taking up those top 4 positions. And Jason Coetzee, the lone man with the Audi there, along with Sandro Bakari in the top 10. Only 2 Audis out there. Gaza, standing start for these guys?
I do believe it's going to be a standing start, and here we go.
Here we go, and we're off. You just see tyre smoke as everybody starts flying off the line. It's very, very slow start for Jaco Steyn as he gets engulfed there in cars, but it is Oompie Swart that leads them into turn 1 with Byron Mitchell. He's moved up into P2. Then it's Michael Stephen, Jason Coetzee, Chase Herald, Willem Botha, Sandro Bakari, Jared Paul, Jonty Weiss. Look at Jaco Steyn, went down from 3rd or 4th on the grid, fell all the way down into 10th position.
That cost him very, very dearly. Willem Botha has been off track and come back onto circuit again as they work their way through that long left-hander. Oompie Swart's got the... Oh, there's a big off. Who was that? We'll try and pick up that who went off there. I think it could have been Michael Stephen.
Let's have a look riding on board with Michael. Yeah, I just got it all wrong, and that sent him into the litter and into the tyre wall. And that could cost him dearly in this race. Michael Stephen was on track for a good result. Started on the 2nd position on the grid, and he dropped down to 3rd at the start of the race. But look at how close it is coming down. That downhill lights flashing there as the guys says, get out of my way, I'm on the move. It's Swart from Mitchell, from Coetzee, then Chase Herald in P4, Willem Botha in P5, followed by Sandro Bakari, Jonty Weiss, Jared Paul, Jaco Steyn, Brent Thompson, Janeman Prius, Reino Ottens, Robbie Teings, Clinton Bezuidenhout. Everybody starts battling out for positions.
Somebody else has gone off track there. I think that could have been Willem Botha. Let's check. Oh, right out onto the ground. He almost got it. He almost had it, but that threw him right back into... And look at this. Here comes the traffic. He tries to turn it around and keep it out of the way, but he got hammered in there. And I think that was probably Ryan Ottens. Yep, look at that. Ryan comes in blinded, bang, into the Coca-Cola car. and that is what took Ryan Ottens out of it.
Yeah, that's not a happy Audi out there in the hands of Ryan Ottens. But let's have a look at this fight out here as Jason Kutsia is all over Byron Mitchell. Mitchell in trouble. Or is that... no, that's Chase Herald. That's all over the back of Jason Kutsia. Jason Kutsia in a lot of hot water out there as Chase Herald is being very, very racy in P4 all over the back end of that Audi of Kutsia.
Oh, looks like connectivity problems there for Jason Kutsia in front of him as well. And you see that put Chase Herald off as he disappeared and then came back. Now Chase finds himself right on the outer edge of the circuit. He's going to have to try and recover that without getting into anybody's way. And just look at that, the cars just come piling past you. Brent Thompson in that lovely Doritos car, the next man that comes through there. So not so good for him, but very nice for these guys up front.
It just shows you how close the racing is here. You can go from hero to zero in literally one little mistake, and all the cars come flying past you. But that now releases Umpi Swart and Byron Mitchell and Jason Kutsia in that top three positions. Sandro Bakari is having happy hunting grounds. He has started in P10 and now finds himself in P4 in that Audi RS3. Behind him, Jonty Weiss in the Hyundai, the Valvoline Hyundai, sitting there in fifth position. You can see how cherry red those brakes become on that number 5 car. Jaco Steyn has worked his way back up into P6 behind Jonty Weiss. Just look at that wonderful camera angle of Jonty Weiss with Sandro Bakari right there ahead of him as they go around Alton Park circuit here in England in round number 3 of the iRSA TCR Touring Car Championship.
Well, you would think if you're within 4/10 of a second, you're rubbing the back bumper. No siree. That's what 0.4, 0.5 and 0.6 looks like when you're looking at the car in front of you. Jonty Weiss in that 5th position. Hard on the brakes, turns it in nice and smoothly. It's a long, long, long climbing turn that, and then up towards the blind rise. Let's go back to the front end of the field. Umpi Swart, is he breaking away? Hell yeah. Umpi Swart's got 1.2 seconds already gap, and if you think that he's taking it out of that man in the form of Byron Mitchell, and the two of them pulling away from that man, the Iron Man, Jason Kutsia. But Jason with heavy connectivity problems, and that in fact was the demise of Chase Herald with the connectivity problem for Jason Kutsia.
Yeah, right behind Kutsia there, 2 seconds behind him, Sandro Bakari in that 4th position. But Bakari in trouble because just 0.3 of a second behind him is Jonty Weiss. That's literally one small mistake and you lose that position to Weiss.
Ooh, like that.
Oh, yeah, like that. The pressure is on for Sandro Bakari. Look at how Jonty Weiss gains. He goes and sits on that outside. Oh, tries to get his nose up. Now he dives for the outside, going into this right-hander.
How's that for closing
the
line?
Sandro Bakari, a seasoned racer, just knows how to cover that line.
Covered that line very well, but the man's on the move. Jonty Weiss is on the move. He'll have the inside line. Surely he's going to make it stick. Yes, he does. He takes the Valvoline car from 5th up into 4th position. But will he be able to get away from Sandro Bakari? I'm not too sure. Sandro is pretty competitive out there, and I think he's going to be fighting back for that position in the not too distant future.
Yeah, Sandro Bakari definitely going to try and fight back for that one, but Bakari not out of trouble because right behind him, Jaco Steyn now slowly but surely starting to gain on him in the 88 Hyundai Elantra, sitting right on the case of Bakari. Bakari trying to stay in touch there with Jonty Weiss, so he's trying to catch, but he's also got to watch his rear as Jaco Steyn might just be the dark horse that's going to try and get up his nose up on the inside there of Bakari as they go into that left-hander. Just look at how close the racing is. Hard on the brakes they go. Jonty Weiss leading this train, this high-speed train, as it looks like they're already starting to catch up to the back markers in the form of Herman Lazarus.
Yeah, I think Herman had a problem earlier on, and well, you can see at the bottom end of the screen, the Herman Lazarus 2 laps down. So definitely was one of the initial problems that happened, and that's cost him literally his race. Now finds himself 2 laps down. Jaco Steyn on board with him, and I tell you what, this man has done so much in the background. I really hope he gets a very, very good result out of this. Talking about good results, it looks like Byron Mitchell is in fact starting to close up on the back end of Umpi Swart.
Yeah, he's got that gap down to under a second, 9/10, 8/10 of a second. Behind Umpi Swart is Byron Mitchell. He's the man on the hunt. He's going to try and fetch that Hyundai Elantra of Swart. Both of them out in Hyundais. Jason Kutsia, the man out there in an Audi, sits in P3, but he's 4 seconds behind them, still heavily glitching out there. Then John T. Weiss in that fourth position, 2 seconds behind the likes of Jason Kutsia, followed by Jaco Steyn in P5. Sandro Bakari has now dropped down to 6th position as Steyn managed to get past him there. Jared Paul, man out there in the Hyundai, he's a second adrift there from Bakari. Behind him, Clinton Bezuidenhout in the Audi, 1.7 seconds behind Paul. Then Brent Thompson, the lone Honda out there, battling it out in the Doritos-sponsored Honda, just behind Clinton Bezuidenhout. And Robbie Teens, the comeback kid, rounding off your top 10.
Look at that battle behind that. Wow, isn't that something else? And Werner Smit finds himself at the tail end of that and looking forward from Werner in the cockpit. Look how tantalizing that looks. Just hoping somebody's going to make a mistake and not take you with them. 5 of them, you can cover them with a blanket.
Yeah, cover them with a blanket indeed, and that's the backmarker Herman Lazarus that's in there with them, trying to stay out of trouble but not compromise his own race as he tries to get out of the way, but he's in the way there of a couple of the guys. Werner Swart having to duck left and right not to make contact with Johan Grobler ahead of him as they all sit there in that battle for 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, with Julian Familiaris in there with them as well, and Herman Lazarus doing a pretty good job to be a moving obstacle for these guys at this stage of the fight.
Yeah, he's in 21st position, but he's in the limelight right now. I mean, you saw just that one roll out of the gas and how far it dropped Werner Swart's back. The guy is battling to catch up again. He's just outside of that slipstream and not finding it easy from there whatsoever. Up on the inside of Herman Lazarus, a slight touch onto Herman, and that sends Herman packing. Well, he was a lap down, so I suppose, you got to stick it in there and do whatever you can.
Yeah, Johan Grobler saying, listen, Herman, nice doing battle with you, but get out of my way.
Yours.
But Gaza, I just picked up something. If you can just head on over to Umpi Swart and give me his personal best time. That was on his last lap now. That was faster than his qualifying time. A 1 minute 38.173 is the time there from Umpi Swart, and he's already pulled up that gap again ahead of Byron Mitchell as he is showing his intent. He says, Byron, I'll let you catch up to me, but hey, if you want to pass me, it's going to be a lot harder than that, mate.
Well, they, in fact, are the only two to break the 39 barrier. Jason Kutsia on a 39.1, a 39.4 for Jonty. Jaco on a 39.2, so that means Jaco is probably going to be closing on the back of Jonty. Remember, that is not last lap time, that is fastest lap times. If we look at the last lap times that they had out there, that'll give you a good indication. Oh, Jared Paul, a 39.417, a personal best for Jared Paul. Jaco Steyn on a 39.2 and a 39 dead for Jonty. So Jonty holding station in that fourth. But nice to see that Jaco's up there in the top 5. Looks like Clinton Bezuidenhout's going for the pass.
Yeah, Clinton Bezuidenhout is right there on the case of Jared Paul. He's waiting for a mistake, tried to cut the corner a little bit there to gain some track, but he is on the charge to try and catch up to Jared Paul. Jared Paul, let's have a look here. That's Jaco Steyn. What happened here? Went a bit off there, went onto the rough stuff. That's not where you want to be with a hard charger behind you, but luckily managed to save that one and stay out of trouble.
Very well with that one. And here's Johan Grobler that turned in. The front just washed away. You don't often see that. He must have been heavy on the brakes and turned in very sharp as you saw that front end wash away from him. And, he managed to catch that one back to the front end of the field.
Back to the front of the field, as you say, Gaza. Yuri Swart leading them. Behind him, Byron Mitchell in P2, 1.4 seconds behind him. Then in third, 5.5 seconds behind is Jason Kutsia in the Audi RS3. In fourth position, John T. Weiss, 2.9 seconds adrift from Kutsia. Behind Weiss, 1.2 seconds, that's Jaco Steyn with a gap of about 0.7 of a second to Sandro Bakari in P6. Jared Paul finds himself in a P7 there, 2 seconds adrift from Sandro Bakari with Bezuidenhout right on his case. Clinton Bezuidenhout is keeping that Audi right on the tail there of Jared Paul in that 8th position. Brent Thompson in the Honda, he sits there in 9th position, 1.6 seconds behind Bezuidenhout, with Julian Familiaris rounding off your top 10.
Well, just think with the life, picture yourself the life of a flicker. on the front bumper of a racing car. That's what
That's
you
what
see.
you'll see pretty much. He goes for the inside. Clinton Besaidno ducks up on the inside, late on the brakes, sticks it up ahead there of Jared Paul. Paul did not see that one coming. We didn't even see that coming, and we used to noticing these kind of things. But a brilliant move there from Clinton Besaidno as he dips up on the inside there of Jared Paul.
He made that one count, no doubt about it. Looks like Ryan Ottens is running into a bit of a problem. Let's see what happened with Ryan. Too many cars, too small the area. Ooh, how do you... Brilliant recovery, Ryan. Welcome to the series and a lovely recovery coming back from no man's land to keep it all together.
Yeah, that would have been a very, very sad moment if he could not catch that, but that was a brilliant catch from Ryan Ottens. He's down there in 20th position, but riding on board with your P10 man, that is Julian Familiaris, a brilliant driver. Ahead of him, you've got Brent Thompson. He's in that battle there with Brent Thompson to try and catch him, who's made up 2 positions, but Familiaris, who didn't put up a time, he's managed to make up 8 positions from the start of this race.
Yeah, no, big difference there. If you look at it, the biggest winners and losers, Jaco Steyn going 1 down. And, well, look at that. Chase Herald, 11 down. And remember, Chase was caught out by the flashing of the car in front of him. And that was the Ironman Jason Kutsia at that caught Chase Herald out. And that's cost him very, very dearly. 11 down for Chase, 11 down for Willem Botha. Michael Stevens, 17 places down. It's not working out very well for him. But, oops, somebody else has just gone off circuit there.
That was Brent Thompson.
I think it was. Let's just have a look at that one. Was that Brent Thompson?
Yeah, the Doritos car. Yeah, just ran it completely wide and no way of saving that one. Just slid it onto the grass, but he kept it out of the wall. That's what's most important. Get it back onto the circuit as quickly as possible without any damage. Just ran it out wide, kept it out of the wall.
Got a hold sway, and Ines Botma also had a bit of an off track as well.
Almost looks like the same place.
Yeah, a lot of people get caught out. It's like a blind rise over the top that you got to get over, and that doesn't make life very, very easy. Janeman Prius sitting on the back of a multi-car battle.
Janeman Prius out there in 16th position. He's right on the case there of Atti Nagel. Ahead of him, Johan Grobler. That is the 2 main guys ahead of him, but that whole train ahead of him, that is Nagel, Johan Grobler, Ines Botma, and Werner Swart. We've seen that battle earlier on already, but Janeman Prius now getting into play with these guys as well as that high-speed train goes around Alton Park Raceway in the heart of England. And let's see if Prius can catch up. He's 8 tenths behind the likes of Nagel. Nagel 7 tenths behind Grobler. But Grobler looks to be the main man on the move there behind Ines Botma, as he's just 3 tenths of a second on the case of Ines Botma.
So tantalizing. You're lying in 16th position. What have you got to lose, really? I mean, you're not even in the top 15. And then you see them racked and stacked in front of you. And they're starting to fight one another further up as well. And you just want to get a piece of that.
Johan Grobler now less than... he's made the pass on Ines Botma. Up on the inside goes Johan Grobler. Makes that move stick beautifully as Ines Botma had nowhere to go, but Botma now fighting back. He's going to try and get his nose up on the inside. Does he leave the door open on the outside there for Atti Nagel? No, just not. But Johan Grobler has done enough to solidify that position, and Ines Botma dropping down into the clutches there of Atti Nagel.
I tell you what, he's coming closer and closer all the time. He wants a piece of that one pretty badly, and it was almost a double passing maneuver that happened at that stage of the fight. Right in there behind him. Let's go on board.
Let's ride on board there, Gazza. We're having so much fun in this race. We haven't even noticed we've gone past the halfway mark in this race. And riding on board there with Atti Nagel. Atti has got the view of Ines Botma right there ahead of him. He knows he can catch up. He's been on their case this whole race, and he knows he's seen Johan Grobler do it. But look at Botma now trying to get his nose up back on the inside there of Grobler. There was slight contact. You could see the tyre smoke from both of them as they were hard on the brakes to try and get past there, as Ines Botma is desperately trying to regain his position and get away there from Atti Nagel.
Atti Nagel using that. Look at that. It goes into the red. Eventually it says shift. Anytime now you can shift. He's using all the revs, all the curbstones and more. Oh, using the grass as well, but he gets good drive. he gets good drive. It actually worked for him.
That worked pretty well. He's right up along the outside. Now he gets back onto the grass. That's not where you want to be, as that almost cost him. And now he falls back into the clutches there of Janneman Prius. Prius now starting to apply pressure to Nagel. So Nagel's got to catch Botma while Prius is trying to catch Nagel. This is going to be some high-speed action.
Well, while they're busy with that, Jaco Steyn has decided it's time to close up onto the back of Jonty Weiss. He's got himself inside of a second now from the tail end of Jonty Weiss. Jonty 4 places up. That means that he's actually passed Jaco early on in the race, and Jaco now trying to recover that position from there. Another man, we spoke about him earlier on, that's on the move, Clinton Bezuidenhout.
Yeah, Clinton Bezuidenhout, he's the man that's moved the most so far, up 12 positions from where he started, and he's chasing down Julian Familiaris, who's right there ahead of him on a circuit. Let's see if Clinton can close it down. He's under a second behind Familiaris. Familiaris sitting out there in 7th position. He's about 2.5 seconds there from Bakari. But let's run down the order there from 8th down to 9th. It's Jared Paul in that 9th position, being chased down by Brent Thompson in the Doritos Honda. In 10th place with Robbie Teens, the man occupying that 11th position.
Looks like that's a bit of
well, that's just swapped around. Yeah. Robbie Teens moving up into 10th.
Yeah, that was Brent Thompson. Let's check what happened to Brent Thompson. Clipped it pretty heavily on the entrance to the first corner, and he had to try and recover it to stay on circuit, and that's what cost him on the exit of the corner. It took Brent a little bit further down. Janneman Prius still involved in that 3-way battle. Can he close? Well, he's into 0.5 of a second, but he just doesn't have that extra little bit to get in.
Yeah, he's actually dropped down quite a bit now there from them. He was under a second. He was about 0.5 of a second behind at one stage. Now it's dropped down back to 1.2 seconds. But look at this Ati Nagel. He's going to try and make that move. Stick on Ines Botma. Botma runs it completely wide. He's got to drive, but it looks like Nagel's doing enough. He's alongside him coming down the main straight. Ines Botma, how's he hanging onto this? Late on the brakes goes Nagel, shoots by, and Ines Botma just had no answer for that one.
Well, at one stage he disappeared off the screen with a bit of net code there, but when he came back he was still in the right position. He hasn't given up on that one. Remember that Janneman Prius is the man that's right in there behind her. Just a little bit further forward, Werner Swartz is now starting to put the pressure on the tail end there of Brent Thompson. You can see somebody went off just before the apex of that corner and has thrown a bit of dust and sand onto the track, and the guys picking it up as they come through. Let's not forget about these guys that are up front. Umpi Swart.
Yeah, Yuri Umpi Swart leading this battle out there in his Umpini Hyundai Elantra. Behind him, Byron Mitchell in P2. Jason Kutsia 10 seconds down the line there in 3rd position in the Audi. Then Jonty Weiss, he sits there in that 4th position. Behind him, we've got Jaco Steyn. Then we've got the likes of Sandro Bakari, Julian Familiaris, followed there by Clinton Bezuidenhout coming into the shot there. But let's look at Familiaris there now. Clinton Bezuidenhout coming through in the Davidson and Sons Audi. Behind him, Jared Paul is the man in 9th position. Catching him with the camera there, coming down that straight. In 9th, the 37 Elantra of Jared Paul, with a comeback kid, Robbie Teens, running off your top 10.
Yeah, Robbie Teens in there, and well, he's ahead of Brent Thompson, not by very, very much. Oh, look at that. It's action-packed behind him. They side by side as they come down towards that first right-hander. I must say the guys are showing lots and lots of respect for one another. Julian Familiaris is on another attack.
Yeah, Familiaris on the attack there of Sandro Bakari. Bakari and the Audi, not too sure where to place that car because the Hyundais are just gobbling them up. Look at that, how close it gets. It's Familiaris up on the inside. They're side by side going down the straight into that right-hander, and it is Familiaris that moves up into P6.
Wow, what a brilliant dice, I tell you what. Entry into that little complex there, you have to get it just right. Otherwise, it costs you dearly on the way out. So Umbi Swart with Byron Mitchell inside of a second. We'll go back to that in the not-too-distant future from the Ironman, Jason Kutsia and Jonty Weiss. Let's have a look at the championship leaders. Julian Familiaris is leading with Umbi Swart. They on level points. Umbi leading the race. Julian down in 6th. Byron Mitchell that is just 6 points behind Umpi, and Julian finds himself in second place. So the pressure's actually on Julian Familiaris right now to make a plan. Unfortunately, Michael Steven falling a long way down, and that's going to cost him his 4th position overall ahead of Clinton Bezuidenhout. Clinton Bezuidenhout finds himself inside of the top 10, and in fact Clinton closing up once again on the back end of Sandra Bakari.
Yeah, Bezuidenhout on the move there as that Audi creeps closer and closer to the Audi of Bakari, as Clinton Bezuidenhout there in 8th position. Beautiful looking car out there for Clinton Bezuidenhout, as Gary said, actually carrying over the livery from his main circuit car onto his TCR car here, that Audi RS3. And behind him Jared Paul in 9th position, followed by Robbie Teens. There we have Brent Thompson. Thompson was right there on the case of Robbie Teens at 7/10 of a second between the two of them.
I think he got camera shy.
Yep.
As we went to him, he ran wide, and he lost that initiative that he had. A nice little battle going on behind them as well.
Yeah, that is the main battle to watch, as Thompson is now 4/10 of a second behind Teens, but Johan Grobler, Werner Swart, and all of them in there to battle it out there. That ping car of Johan Grobler right on the case of Thompson, and not too far behind him, Werner Swart in his Hyundai also applying a lot of pressure.
Byron Mitchell still within a second. Keep an eye on the left-hand top corner. Oh, everybody cutting that corner. You can see the grass is getting a bit worn out. Byron Mitchell, keep an eye on the left-hand top corner of your screen. Should that go down to a half a second or anything nearby to that, we will go back to that battle. We don't want to miss out on that. But right now it's Werner Swartz and Brent Thompson and Grobler that actually swap positions. So as you said, one little mistake, it's all it takes. Drop down.
Yeah, Brent Thomas actually dropping down 2 positions, as Werner Swart also managed to squeeze by him. And the next man behind Thompson, Ati Nagel, in a bit of a bother there with the likes of Ines Botma within 2/10 of a second. Yeah, that's what happened there for Thompson. Just ran it wide, lost 2 positions, make it 3 positions.
And he lost the impetus by going onto the grass. It just didn't have that pulling power, the traction to pull him forward, and that made him slower all the way up the straight. And unfortunately, yeah, from there was no recovering. He was going to drop more than 1 position. While talking about having difficulty, Byron Mitchell.
What happened here? Oh, ran it wide, trying to catch up there to Umpi Swart. It's just ahead of him. It's so frustrating. You can see the guy that you need to catch. He's right there. You know you can catch him, but small mistakes that creep in. But he's already worked it back up to 7/10 of a second, under a second there between Swart and Byron Mitchell, with about 5.5 minutes to go in this race.
That's actually quite surprising. You would have thought he would actually drop back with that going off track the way he did. He was on 0.9 most of the time, and now it's in the 0.7s and the 0.8. So Byron Mitchell, to my mind, with 5 minutes to go, which is going to give them probably about 3 laps, it looks like he is deciding now it's time to mount a charge at the tail end of Umpi Swart. He's got 13 seconds on the Ironman, Jason Kutsia, so doesn't have to worry too much about what is behind him. But Julian Familiaris and Jaco Steyn still involved in that big battle.
Yeah, it's Julian Familiaris and Jaco Steyn tied in that battle, and all of them are trying to catch the man ahead of them. That's John T. Weiss in P4, with Familiaris being the man furthest there from Weiss. He's got to get past the Steyn before he can even get to Weiss, but just look at that train. It's so close. Anything can still happen in this race between those 3 guys. Janoan Prius had a bit of a gardening session, goes into the kitty litter.
Trying to catch that. Yeah. Remember I said it's so tantalizing with those cars in front of you? Well, it was just a little bit too, and look how long it takes him to get back onto the circuit. Cost him dearly.
Yeah, not what he would have wanted. But Julian Familiaris trying to catch the likes there of Steyn, but riding on board with your race leader, Yuri Umpi Swart. He's leading this race as he's coming up on Willem Botha, who's about to lap in 18th position. Behind him, Byron Mitchell. It's under a second. I do believe that Umpi is managing this race perfectly. Yeah. He's not doing anything major. He just maintains that gap between himself and Mitchell. Yeah. I think he's gone very, very light on fuel, and that's if he sees Mitchell making a mistake, it means he can climb off the gas a little bit and just manage that gap to keep into a second, 9/10 of a second the whole time.
No doubt about it. He's playing it a little bit safe now. He's made it just outside of a second. Now it closes back down again. Jaco Steyn very, very close on the tail end of the man in front of him, Julian from the iRSA. Jaco Steyn trying to break into that top 5. Julian from the iRSA super duper consistent in oval track, in iRacing as such. I'm looking forward to some oval track this weekend. Cape Town Drive is going to be happening down at Killarney International. Jaco Steyn right in there. He's got up to 0.3 of a second. Almost 3 minutes left in this one. A lap and a half, 2 laps. That's all that there is in it. You want to go? You got to go now.
Yeah, you got to go now, or hope and pray for a miracle. We've seen what can happen if you make a small mistake, and with these gaps so small between the guys, literally anything can happen. Let's have a look here at Ati Nago.
Oh, 3 abreast. That doesn't work.
That's never going to work.
Oh,
that's never going to work.
That's a biggie.
Oh, getting wiped out there, no fault of your own. That has got to hurt.
Oh, I tell you what, and that's going to have massive damage on those motor cars. There's no doubt about it. And it was such a magnificent battle all the way. And, well, but that's what it's all about. If you haven't got the will to get to the front and to push and do whatever you need to do, you shouldn't be out there in motorsport.
Yeah, in the words of the great late Ayrton Senna, you're no longer a racing driver if you don't go for the gap. Yep. So,
problem is 9 out of 10 times when you get to the gap, it's gone. That's a bit of a problem. 0.9 for Byron Mitchell. I don't believe he's going to be able to take one Honda past another in front of Umpi Swart, the man that came second overall in the National Polar Cup Series to Leighton Fourie in 2021. Started this season brilliantly and had a lovely day on Saturday. Carried that performance and the assurance in his abilities through 2 tonight series. And even earlier on this morning, he was on the WhatsApp saying, guys, it's race day today. You would have thought he would still be reveling in what happened on Saturday. But this morning he was already into this one and saying, we're going to have fun tonight.
Yeah, Umpi Swart making a big claim out here today with that Hyundai Elantra N-Series car of his, Umpini, and literally managing this race beautifully, just maintaining that gap at 1 second, 9/10 of a second, and every now and then again, Byron Mitchell gets the idea, right, I'm closing, and then Umpi just opens it up again.
I think Umpi, almost like, this is going to sound terrible, I think Umpi lets him get a bit closer, so he tries just a little bit harder, so he makes a mistake, and that takes the pressure off once again. Julian from the iRSA, the man that is level pegging with Umpi Swart at the top end of the points log after 2 rounds, is looking to make up one more position. The problem is the guy's trying to pass. Called Jonty Weiss. You've got to get up very early on a Monday morning past Jonty Weiss.
Now, I missed that passing that he did on Jaco Steyn. I wonder if Steyn didn't make a mistake and went off circuit there. But he's got to try and catch up. Let's have a look. At that stage, Familiaris was already past him.
It was just that light run off the track for Jaco Steyn, where he went off the track, but he didn't exactly lose that much time. If we look at that, yeah, no, not too bad. I don't think that made too much of a difference. But we are in with 4 seconds to go. Let's go back to the leader.
Yeah, riding on board with your race leader. This is his last lap. The next time he crosses the start-finish line, it'll be over and done with. Byron Mitchell now 7/10 of a second. Mitchell picking up the pace to try and catch up to the back end there of Swart. Let's see if he can make it as they go through the works here at Alton Park Speedway in England. Umpi Swart leading them from Byron Mitchell. These two are in fight there for first and second, with Jason Kutsia just battling it out there in that 3rd position.
Jason Kutsia finds himself 14 seconds off. He's not going to be able to make it up from there. But to finish it, to win it, you first got to finish it. And it's not all over yet. He's still got to do 1 or 2 more corners. But he's done such a brilliant job. Umpi Swart from Byron Mitchell. I think it's just fitting that we stay with him on this last lap in the Umpini Hyundai. I tell you what, it's been a brilliant drive in that Elantra, the Class N Elantra. That is sort of like the sports series of Hyundai worldwide, and those Umpini colours looking very, very nice as they go through underneath the Carlu Bridge for the last time.
Yeah, for the last time they go through there. Byron Mitchell, he thinks he's got a chance at this if he can just catch up there. It's down to 0.5 of a second between the two of them. He's now putting everything he can on the main straight now. Across the line he goes. Your race winner, Yuri Umpi Swart, with Byron Mitchell 0.5 of a second behind him in that second position. Now we've got to wait 15 seconds for the third place man, Jason Kutsia, to bring home that Audi RS3.
Well, Jason Kutsia is going to come through. He'll be pretty chuffed with that one, with a third overall in there. Behind that, Julian from iRSA. Then it is John T. Weiss, and then well done, Yaku. In behind that, in the Davidson and Brothers cars, Clinton Mercedes. Sandra Bakari didn't get dropped from that original battle that they were in from Jared Paul. And then the next one going to come through is going to be Robbie Teens in the Denzo car. A little bit further back. Also, once again, a 14-second gap, but that due to incident earlier on in the race. Just 1 second in there behind him is Johan Grobler from Chase Herald.
Yeah, Chase Herald bringing home that car in 12th position, with Ines Botma bringing in the next Audi in that 13th position. Janeman Prius crossing the line there in 14th position. That's him crossing the line there now with Brent Thompson in the Honda in 15th, with Werner Swart bringing home that Hyundai of his in 16th position. And that was the last car on the lead lap.
Yep, that was the last one that came through there. Wow. Well, FC, as I said to you, you missed the first 2 rounds due to work commitments and joining this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Now you can see what I was talking about when I said this touring car series is going to be one of the very, very popular ones for the season.
Oh, definitely some very, very exciting, tight, close racing out there. And what an honor and a privilege it's been to share this here with you this evening. Looking at your race results, Umpi Swart taking the win there in the Hyundai, followed by Byron Mitchell in a second, Jason Kutsia bringing home third, Julian Familiaris in fourth, and John T. Weiss rounding off your top 5.
Yep, then Jaco Steyn, the man that put the whole series together from Clinton Mercedes, Sandra Bakari and Jared Paul, with Robbie Teens rounding out the top 10.
Now then behind it, Teens, Johan Grobler in P11, Chase Herald coming home into 12th position, Ines Botma in 13th with Janeman Prius in 14th, Brent Thompson bringing home the Honda in 15th with Werner Swart, Michael Steven and Willem Botha up into 18th position.
So a big welcome once again to Kwanda Makuna, Aman Lazarus, Willem Botha, Ryan Ottens and Andrew Thomas that have moved up from the 2nd division to the A division. Going into this race, it was Julian Familiaris from Umpi Swart on 49 apiece, with Byron Mitchell and Michael Steven on 43 and 42, and then 32 for Clinton Mercedes. You do the mathematics. We'll be back with this form of motorsport in a few weeks from now, probably about 3 weeks from now. But we've got some more iRacing to look forward to on Wednesday night. That will be the Sports and GT Master Series. That'll be going out normal time tomorrow night. FC, a closing word from your side.
Yeah, lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me down for the Touring Car Challenge. It was lovely being here with you, and I look forward to the next one. Unfortunately, the Sports and GT Master Series, I'll miss that one on Wednesday night, but you and Frankie must enjoy it. From my side, FC Nivo, good night.
May I be the first one to say happy 21st birthday, FC Nivo. From my side, Gary Fleming, good night to you, one and all.